You're watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Welcome back to Sunday Sound Off, and our first hot topic of the night. When, remember, I used the word when, the Big 12 expands, which schools would you like to add? TJ, what do you think?
Houston and BYU, but really the question isn't who are they going to add, it's why are they adding anybody? It's not going to solve their problem. The Big 12 has been basically, the remaining schools have been vassals to Texas for way too long. So they've got an issue here with third-tier rights, which is really the entire purpose of conference expansion is to make money for the members of the conference. And at this point, they really can't do that the same way that the Big Ten and the SEC have because they've allowed Texas to call too many shots. Texas already has its own network, and so creating a Big 12 network has now become impossible. So regardless of who you add, you can't add any major markets at this point. You already have access to the state of Texas. There are really too many issues right now for the Big 12. I think instead the question should be, is the Big 12 going to be around in 10 years? Because I think that right now that it's far more likely that we see a Pac-16 before we see a viable Big 12 in the marketplace.
Russell, what do you think? And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. We hear the saber rattling again. Looks like they'd like to add a couple teams, get a championship game in football.
Yeah, the thing is that there are no great teams to add in the Big 12. That's probably the biggest problem. They made a mistake by not adding Louisville a couple of years ago. That was the team they could have added. They need a team to go along with West Virginia, in my opinion, somebody on the East Coast. I think UConn is as far out there on the East Coast as they would be. I think they would be a good team. It's a good academic school. It would be a decent fit to go out and get. I do want to make this one point. I think that we need to maybe change the way we look at conference realignment. The entire thing was about television rights and making money off of that. And now in this era of cord cutting, most people my age don't even have cable. Yep. We have Netflix and we borrow somebody's Watch ESPN pass. So, I do think that heading forward, we need to think about what this is even really about and why we're adding schools and if that's really the right way to even go.
So you sort of like it the way it is, just hang in there for a while and see how it all shakes out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Big 12 is in a great spot at 10 teams, especially with the other conferences at 14. I think 10 is a logical number to be at, but if you've got other conferences at 14 right now, you certainly, I think, maybe would want to get to 12.
Okay, Seren?
To answer the question, what teams? Utah, TCU, Louisville, and Memphis. That's what it should have been when they had 12 schools. They should have been progressive, ahead of the curve, picking off the best schools that were out there. Instead, they fell asleep at the wheel, like the Big 12 has done since the day it was founded. They let Colorado walk with Utah to the Pac-12, eliminating the Mountain West. Now you can try to scramble around and grab BYU if you want, but you're not going to travel from BYU to West Virginia. It's not going to happen. Louisville should have been added at that time. Look, here's the bottom line. They can grab whoever they want. They're going to be picked apart when it's all said and done. OU and Kansas will be the ones that actually close the door on the Big 12. When they look around, when Texas doesn't come around on this network thing, they'll say, okay, enough, we're out. OU will have its pick of the Big 10 or the SEC. Kansas will be offered by the Big 10. Those schools will break it up when it's all said and done.
All right, here's our second hot topic of the evening. Do you like the idea of the DH in the National League? Rustin, you're transitioning into Major League Baseball with the Royals. What are your thoughts about the DH?
I'm neither pro nor anti-DH. I just think that both leagues should have the same rules. It's bizarre that they do not, and they haven't for decades. But I do think it would be like the NBA, one conference having the three-point shot, another conference not having it, or even worse, it would be like having a center every quarter having to chuck up a three-pointer as some sort of rule that these pitchers are not good hitters. They shouldn't be hitting. I'm fine with National League Baseball the way it is, but I think both leagues should be uniform, so might as well add the DH to the National League. That's fine.
Seren, the big baseball man, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Baseball's found a way to basically upset two different generations. The old fogey generation that wants no
That's
DH.
Me.
My generation that likes the difference. I kind of like the nuance. I mean, every baseball park is different in its dimensions, so there are those nuances of the game of baseball. That's what's different than the NBA and NFL when it comes to Major League Baseball, that every ballpark's different. So I kind of like the fact that you go over and play each other's style of baseball. I think at the end of the day, 20, 30 years from now, it's still baseball. It gets more hitters around. I'm not really passionate one way or the other. If you left it up to me, I'd stick with what we got. I like the differences, and I like the interleague play, forcing guys to play the other league style.
TJ?
I don't care.
It's pretty simple.
For logical purposes, I would say having the same rules in the separate leagues makes sense. Having a DH makes sense. Anytime somebody brings up the pitchers who can hit well, if they want to hit, then let them hit. You don't have to put in a DH necessarily, but I would say that anytime you want to make a rule to fit a couple of guys, it's just like in the NBA, hack-a-shack or whatever it is. That people are asking them to change those rules too. You don't change rules. You don't make rules or keep rules that really only affect a certain a small group of people. And I feel like that pitchers who hit well is that's the rule that protects them. It doesn't really help anybody else, and it doesn't help offense. And guess what? The games would be faster if they had a DH in the National League as well.
All right, here's about 20 seconds on this one. Our final hot topic, Super Bowl 50. Seren, who you got?
I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. I like their defense. Everybody else is going to be on Carolina. I'm going to be on Denver. I was the only one on Denver, at least amongst a lot of people I know when it came to the game against the New England Patriots. I think their defense is something special. Von Miller provides a pass rush the likes that nobody else in the NFL has with the rest of their talent. So I think Peyton Manning can do just enough, and I think Cam Newton in his first go-round probably be forced into some mistakes. But look, I've been wrong on Cam Newton before. He's proven to be much better than I thought he was this year. So, hey, he's got a great chance to do it again here in the Super Bowl.
TJ.
Cam Newton is superhuman.
Cam.
He is amazing. I would say that that obviously gives them a leg up at the quarterback position, and that's saying something given that Peyton Manning is the other guy. But I would say too, everybody's talking about the Denver defense being the great defense here. The last time they were in the Super Bowl, they went up against the Seattle Seahawks, who dominated them, and the Seattle Seahawks led the league in takeaways. Guess who leads the league in takeaways this year? The Carolina Panthers. So as much as we want to talk about the Denver defense, I would say look at the other side and look at the Carolina defense. Look at how impressive they are. I'll pick the Carolina Panthers all the way.
Rustin?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Vegas on this one. They've got Carolina opening as a 4-point favorite. I think that number is actually low. I think Carolina should be maybe more like a 6 or 7-point favorite in this game. I think we talk about the Denver defense, but as TJ mentioned, the Carolina defense is pretty stout. I'm not sure Denver can score enough points to stay in this game in the second half, and I think Carolina is going to win fairly easily.
All right, there we go. Up next, we're going to get some final thoughts from the panel. It's their time to sound off on anything that's on their minds tonight. You're watching Sunday Sound Off.